Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. All right, another request for you guys. If you have not done so already, please subscribe, rate, review, share this show with your family and friends. Let them know it's daily BYU content available on demand. Really, we're a one-man operation. Speaking of myself, obviously we have Locked On, the network behind us, but your guys' help is what helps build this audience. So thank you in advance for all of your help. And also, if you have interest in advertising with the show, we'd love to help you guys out as well. Reach out to us. LockedOnBYU@gmail.com is the email address. We'll get you on the path to advertising success right here on Locked On Cougars and the Locked On Podcast Network, where, of course, I like to say it's your team every day. All right, let's talk BYU football. Kalani, Sitake and the BYU Cougars are on an incredible hot streak in the 2026 recruiting cycle. It could get even hotter, and they could get their crown jewel if Ryder Lyons decides that he is going to be a BYU Cougar. Now, many of you know the backstory with Ryder Lyons, a five-star prospect out of Folsom High School, a guy who's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He has plans to go on a mission and spend, he says, 1 year in the mission field. All of that is to say the BYU, they want to really kind of assert themselves in the national consciousness when it comes to recruiting as a member of the Power Four in the Big 12. Landing a kid of Ryder Lyons' capability due to his connections, obviously, with the school, the faith that sponsors it, and just simply put, he's a stud football player, be a major recruiting win for BYU. It's kind of been a three-horse race to this point. USC, where his older brother Walker plays, was figured to be a sentimental pick, obviously, because his brother's there. The Oregon Ducks, with their NIL prowess, have obviously been in the conversation with every player, feels like, up and down the West Coast, and they're very much in the mix here. And then it was BYU. Now, there's been a lot of people out there from 24/7 Sports, On3, a number of other outlets who've said that BYU is the dark horse in this race, and I can pretty much confirm that. BYU's kind of been tracking all along. Like I said, the connections he has, got a lot of family connection to BYU. And the interesting part was there were reports from 24/7 Sports as recently as yesterday that Ryder Lyons has at least canceled for now an official visit he had to go to LA and visit USC this weekend. He had originally planned to visit USC this weekend, go to Oregon next weekend, and then BYU is going to get the last of the 3 official visits he had revealed on June 20th. So essentially, the Cougars are going to get the last say. Him canceling this USC trip is very curious. I don't know what exactly to make of it, but there's a lot of people out there that think that it may have essentially said that USC, they're out. They're not in the mix here. Now, they obviously, Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojans, they are recruiting players at every level from every recruiting class, and they have obviously targeted what are some 2027 cycle quarterbacks, because that's what Ryder Lyons ultimately would be because of his mission service, and that may push them down the list. So now it's the Ducks versus the Cougars. That's the thing about this, is which program will win out in this race. BYU has got as good a shot as anybody on this, and truthfully, you want Ryder Lyons to be the BMOC, the big man on campus? Come to Provo, Utah. Come play at BYU. You can get lost in the shuffle at other programs like an Oregon and a USC because, simply put, they have got stockpiles of guys of your caliber. Now, would it be nice for BYU at some point to have a stockpile of their own of 4- and 5-star talents? Sure, but the funny thing is, if you haven't been paying attention, BYU is kind of racking up a bunch of 4-star guys right now. The recruiting cycle this past year, the transfer portal cycle in particular, brought a number of those guys to this program. But there's a difference, obviously, between the 4-star and the 5-star level. 5-star level, at least according to 24/7 Sports, is they project you at some point down the line in your college career to be a first-round NFL draft pick. That is what a 5-star designation that Ryder Lyons carries comes with. That's the weight. That's the expectation. And those guys, they don't grow on trees. BYU was signed, if I'm not mistaken, at least 2, what would you consider 5-star prospects? Ben Olsen, way back, was that in 2002 when he signed? Maybe 2003. And then Jake Heaps in 2010. Now, things did not work out for either one of those guys in a Cougar uniform, and quite frankly, didn't work out overall because they never lived up to the billing as a 5-star prospect. But Ryder Lyons, he is everything that BYU could hope for in terms of recruiting, news, juice, momentum, everything that BYU wants as a member of the Power Four gets legitimized, and it's already pretty legit for BYU, but it gets legitimized even more so if they win this recruiting battle. It would show that BYU can once again compete with the nation's best when it comes to recruiting. Their NIL prowess is absolutely on display here because, simply put, you don't get a quarterback of Ryder Lyons' caliber without putting together a pretty lucrative NIL package to obviously add to what you can offer him in terms of playing time and everything else that BYU would offer. It would be a huge, just a monumental recruiting win for BYU to win this battle. And if he's backed off USC, that means it's down to 2. And until BYU's not in it, they're absolutely in it. I'm getting a sneaking suspicion, and I'm not reporting anything. This is just my personal gut feeling on this, that BYU is in the lead. I really do think that. And they're going to be Oregon Duck fans who are probably climbing all over mentions. You don't know what you're talking about. Blah, blah, blah. Great. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe he does pick the Ducks. Maybe he's in green and gold for his college career. But I'm telling you, reading the tea leaves, my gut feeling, my gut reaction to all of this is that little old BYU is in the lead for Ryder Lyons. That's not a report. That's not me reciting any inside intel. It's just me and my gut feeling on the matter right now. Now, could that gut feeling change tomorrow? Could the recruiting winds change as they often do? Absolutely. Things change literally day by day, hour by hour. And especially when you have prospects of this caliber, it does change often. But right now, it sure looks like the Cougars have got as good a shot as anybody to get what would be, truthfully, the crown jewel of an already extremely strong 2026 recruiting cycle, and would only embolden BYU and kind of like, I guess, not embolden, but really kind of point to, yeah, BYU's got juice on the recruiting trail, and it is national. That's what's at stake here for BYU when it comes to Ryder Lyons. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk a little bit about what you guys want to talk about. I throw it out to our Locked On Cougars Insider Group every single week to kind of get their feel for what they want to know about Cougar Nation. And obviously, there's a lot of interest in the Ryder Lyons discussion. Oh, one thing I should pass along, I guess I just can add this to the conversation about Ryder before we get to the mailbag, is the other thing about the Ryder Lyons situation is when it comes to him, he would have other players. And now they've already got Brock Harris locked in. You got other 4-star talents who've already signed up with BYU in terms of their commitments to the 2026 recruiting cycle. But if you get a 5-star quarterback, all of a sudden there's a lot of kids who would like to play with a quarterback of that caliber. And if BYU has him in their back pocket, guess what? All of a sudden, the recruiting pitch to a whole lot more of these young men out there that are legit 4 and maybe potentially 5-star talents. Well, that pitch gets a lot better and more compelling from BYU if they can say, hey, we got this quarterback over here. We'd like you to come in and help us chase a national championship, chase a Big 12 title. To have the caliber of athletes like a Ryder Lyons in your recruiting class and committed, that would completely open up those doors for those athletes to be, I think, a whole lot more interested than they may be otherwise. And there's interest, I think, but you're talking about going from like, hey, that's cool about BYU to, hey, BYU, so what do you guys got going on here? That's kind of the difference. If you can kind of get the gist of what I'm explaining here, is that he would really, I think, by himself, bring a lot of attention to and a lot of compelling recruiting pitches that BYU could use if he does commit to the Cougars. Now, only time will tell because he's expected to make these official visits, and then at some point before his senior season kicks off, coming up later this summer, the hope is that BYU will be the hat he's wearing and he'll be donning the blue and white. We'll see what happens. I just wanted to pass that along. All right. Time to get to the mailbag. You guys obviously respond in force as you do every single week from the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. And we'll answer as many questions as we have in the time remaining. And we'll do that next right here on Locked On Cougars.